I feel bad after what my dad said.
Well,
he's like, you should take it easy on Josh. You're kind of hard on him sometimes. Like, Dad, you don't even know the half of what Josh says to me when the cameras aren't rolling.
Stop it. That's factually incorrect. Dude, you look so funny. Stop it.
I just can't figure out why just go.
Welcome to How Stupid People Succeed. I'm Josh. This is Jeremy. And this is how two stupid people like us somehow find ways to figure things out in life.
Yeah. I'm really upset. We have friends that are chiropractors and nobody's telling me how to fix my posture. But every time I watch a podcast, I'm like, I look like I'm one of those hunched over old guys. I don't know what to do.
So
and
you
just keep yelling at me about posture. I don't know what that means.
So you watch your podcast? You don't listen to them?
You got to watch it back. I listen to some. I watch some. Just depends. Huh. But you got to hear it back.
Yeah.
Because then I realize I say so way too much. So.
Are you going to say so more, or am I going to stutter more?
I don't know. Either way.
It's a great question.
Either way, I'm going to slap myself in the face.
Well, who's going to talk more, me or you?
It depends.
Ooh, it doesn't depend at all.
Why not?
Because it's always you.
Because I prep more than you?
Yes.
And then halfway through the conversation, you just fall asleep?
Yes.
See, people wonder about the format. The format is just because that's your attention span. So eventually we're going to have to go to a 7.5 minute format.
Yeah, well,
keep you locked in the conversation. You did great, though, the long forms.
Thanks.
You did great.
I try to stay engaged.
Yeah.
We did have a couple squirrels.
Yeah.
But,
we did.
It was good.
So let's shift gears. We're going to talk about something, but we'll shift gears since we're talking about it anyway.
We're going to dip some toes into things today.
I don't think we can say that.
Why can't we say that?
So let's shift gears. I'm going to throw a curveball. You ready for a curveball? We're going to talk about the podcast. So we're going to switch around the schedule a little bit. So let's talk about the podcast since we're talking about it already.
Okay.
And it feels like a good vibe.
Okay.
So we started this. We did an intro video. We had really no idea of really what to accomplish. We went back and forth about even what to call it. But here we are about 2 months into it. So there you go. I said, so you can't believe it.
Yeah, but we are 2 months into it and we have 8 hours of content already?
We got
That's a lot.
We got a lot. And there's a lot more to come.
Yes, I know.
Being this far into the podcast, is it working out like you thought, or are there surprises to kind of how it's gone?
There's always surprises. I have no idea what to expect. I had no idea what to expect. It's more along the lines of you and I talk nonsense all the time anyway. So we might as well sit down and do it in a podcast format.
Yeah, might as well do it in a podcast format.
Yeah. No, but the love and support that we've gotten is just nuts.
Yeah.
I'm shocked, for being 2 months into it, not even 2 months into it, we already have, over 500 likes on Facebook. We have a bunch of people subscribed. The engagement online has just been incredible.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've got calls about real estate because, hey, I've seen you on the podcast. So that's
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
do I get a cut?
So that's pretty cool. Stop it.
What?
Well, if you're licensed, I could pay you.
Bro, that's false. I can't. I just can't show houses or something.
Listen, my friendship with you is payment enough.
Oh,
believe me.
Let's not get into those numbers. Let's do a whole podcast on.
Stop. Stop.
That'd be great.
That would not be great.
I would have all the numbers.
People would see your love of numbers and they'd see my lack of caring.
Yeah. For me is what they would see. For me. They're like, wow, Josh really doesn't care. I don't know why he's even in this thing.
It's all about you, Jeremy.
No, it's not, Josh. It's not. It's not. So, the response from people.
I'm winning right now, by the way.
You are winning. You've not stuttered one time. Hopefully, now that I said it, you'll do it.
Nope.
Plant that seed.
Good friend.
Have you struggled with talking or doing the homework or creating content, like when you're on air and you know it and you're talking about a topic or you're interviewing somebody? Has the flow of the conversation been easy for you? Has it been challenging? What have you tried to teach yourself or learn or improve on through the last 2 months?
For me, what I've found, a lot of what I've been doing is a lot of reacting because, you're the planner, you're the organizer. A lot of it is you setting things up and I'm just responding.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I say isn't, well, actually none of it's scripted.
Right.
So a lot of it is just winging it and kind of, talking from the heart. But, it's been it's been super interesting to see that because, knock on wood so far, I haven't said anything real dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some dumb things, but not like super dumb things that would get me in trouble. Well, no, I take that back. Zach did edit out something.
Let's not give a specific reference.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah. Outside of that, though, it's been really good.
It has been good.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been, it's been everything that our friendship really epitomizes, honestly.
Yeah.
Really, it has been.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
A lot of, coming up with the content ideas, the structures, all you. I just show up and I'm just here. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the credit goes to you and Mr. Nicolosi there.
Yeah.
But it's been super fun, having these conversations and having a platform where people for some reason are listening. I mean, I don't understand why people want to listen to us talk, but it's pretty cool.
It gives them hope. Yeah. That's for sure. They're like, you know what? If I can just watch their podcast, I will realize how smart I really am.
Yeah.
I'll realize, you know what? They can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
The silver linings in life.
So, does Tom Ferry respect you now?
Of course he does. Always,
So go ahead and share a little bit of what did I do to bait you into the podcast? This is something we've talked about for like a year and never really seemed to like get traction.
Correct. But we were always for it. We just never did it.
I was always for it. You were just wanting to do it.
I was for it. We just never did it.
Yeah. So what was the tipping point? Do you want to share that story?
That time, well, yeah. So, I went Jeremy. Anyway, in 2020 for my business, as you know, I wanted to do a lot more video. So I wanted to just create a lot more video, a lot more content, and just get it out there. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. I just want to do more video. And you're like, well, what if we video the podcast? And like, well, so kind of using the video as, the podcast as essentially, I mean, if you want to say it's, career related, I guess you can a little bit, but it's everything just really just getting to know me. So people are, our listeners are obviously they're getting to know us through our dumb conversations. Mm-hmm. They feel a little more, I would say, comfortable with us. I don't know. It's been super cool. Really has been.
Yeah.
Oh, what about you?
What about me?
I honestly forgot the question you asked me, so I was just throwing something back.
It was the Tom Ferry story of how I baited you to finally jump on board with the podcast idea.
So if you don't know Tom Ferry is a world-renowned real estate coach. He's super, super good. He's top end. And I follow a lot of his stuff on social media. And everything he's been pushing, honestly, probably since 2010. He'd probably tell you different, but since 2010, he's been pushing video. So in order to sit down and do this, really it just took me just doing it. I've seen, that was really it. I just never did it. I knew I needed to do it. But then again, on the other side of it, I don't really do this for business. I do this as more just a personal recreation, to hang out and chat.
Yeah. It has a business benefit.
It does have a business benefit.
Which we'll get into more in later episodes.
Yeah.
Because we definitely want to tackle the real estate question and some of the other stuff. Tackle some of those passions for sure. Yeah. I think for me, it was the excuse to finally put that content out there. And it's really just understanding the format for me was what it was really about. And along the journey of, let's say, the year and a half or 2 years of really thinking about it, I knew I wasn't going to do it myself. That was one of the big things that was a delay for me is I don't want to be a person and here comes your softball lob. I don't want to be the person just on camera sharing my thoughts.
Watch this. Zach, insert crickets.
Yeah, there they are. But I don't, and make sure you pay him for that extra editing that you just requested. But one of the things that I find a benefit is I find thought through conversation exciting.
Yeah.
I don't find my own thoughts that exciting. Now, if the thought comes from research or from something shared or some information or some knowledge, that's when I get excited about it. But me just having an opinion and thinking something, I much rather, it's a weird word, I don't even know the complete definition, but glean, right? I want to have that conversation. I want to see that reflection. And I think that's the fun part about conversations with people that you love and you trust, is you can almost test things out, right? So there's certain things that I've said or that we've talked about that I don't even really believe, but it's an idea to talk about, even playing devil's advocate. So a great college professor I have, Dr. Terrence Newman, absolutely phenomenal.
Quarterback for the Cowboys?
No. Although he was a great Madden, but he was terrible in real life, but he's great in Madden because he's so fast.
That's true.
But incredible playing devil's advocate. And he could take a question and he could play both sides of it, and he could get the whole class and like this huge argument and debate over, what they were doing. And I think that's what I appreciate about some of the podcasts is it's really us trying to explore, because a lot of what we talk about too and the topics we bring, it's not just you and I saying, hey, what do you think about this? It's also us pulling from other people that we know. So one thing that we'll get into in the future is like, we'll text out a question. Hey, what do you think about this? Or how do you feel about this? Because again, it goes back to the heart of the podcast, and the heart of the podcast is very few people get to have open and honest conversations about some of the internal struggles they have or some of the life struggles they have. And so it's a fun way to kind of explore that for me personally, just because I'm confident enough that I'm not overly concerned about what somebody may say or what somebody may think, because I'm sharing a reflection. I wouldn't say an opinion, because some of it's a reflection. Like I've thought about it, you thought about it, we've talked about it with our friends, our family, whatever. And here's our life experience,
I think that's one of the big differences too about the podcast though. So you really don't care what people think, and I do probably to a fault. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool to kind of see the dynamics and the back and forth when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely. It's weird to see what I feel like is not a risk at all, but then you kind of have a hesitation or a clarifying question to then come right after that. And like, okay, but wait, and I'm like, what does it matter? Who cares? And I think it's just because it's how we feel, but then understanding there can be a very easy public eye or public interpretation of that. But honestly, and I struggled with this at the beginning of this, because one of the hesitations also with the podcast, like what direction do you take it so you can minimize your offense? And I think if you're going to really put yourself out there, you're going to have to get comfortable really quick with people maybe not agreeing, which is fine. Maybe people getting offended, which is fine. Maybe bucking a belief or a family or a culture or whatever it is, which is fine. I mean, none of this is like vindictive. None of this is like whatever. It's just, here's life experience. Let's explore it. Let's communicate it. But back to what you said, the response from people, I think it's been incredible. Like I've been completely surprised, because again, for us, it was and we've not talked about it, but I'll just assume this of you because I know it was true of me. But some of it is the hesitation of putting yourself out there, which I also think there's a lot of lessons to learn from that. Because I've done certain things in my life where I've put myself out there and it's fallen flat on its face and it's not been as successful as I wanted. And there's been other things I've put myself out there and it's been really cool to kind of see how it's kind of come about. So with you, and look, yeah, you're crushing me right now. How does that make you feel? You're pretty happy.
It's just another day in life.
Another victory for Josh. Looking forward to the podcast, now that we have experience, 2 months, very little experience, what are some of the things you see kind of coming down the road as far as either changes, improvements, directions for you, thoughts for you?
I need to start listening to podcasts about how to do podcasts. That'd probably help. Maybe read some books about how to podcast. Yeah.
Part of the fun is just the rawness of it.
So what do you attribute to most of the feedback, the positive, negative feedback that we've got about the podcast?
I think people are way more emotionally intelligent and sensitive than we give them credit for. And I think they're very happy it's not BS.
Mm-hmm.
And the vast majority of my personal experience with my social media or my interaction is there's a high BS level there. And I've never been the kind of person that's interested in, small talk, never interested in, putting your best foot forward, never interested in, like, when I say putting your best foot forward, what do I mean by that? I mean, if it's not real, I don't want to fake it. I don't want to pretend I'm something I'm not.
Don't want to fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I don't want to fake it till I make it either. I want to be very honest about where I'm at and where I'm going, and I'm fine with that. The whole fake it till you make it's like yes and no. So again, we didn't sit down and profess, hey, we're podcast professionals and we're going to fake that we know what the heck we're doing, and then we're going to grow into it, and then all of a sudden we're going to act. No, it was like from day one, we're like, we have no idea what we're doing, but it's also very reflective of our life. We're trying to figure it out. We don't assume we know what we're doing. And I think there's a lot of freedom in that. The restriction of fake it till you make it, you also have the constant insecurity of, will I make it? Versus me understanding, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to go. Here's the gap of work in between me and there.
Yeah.
So I better be committed.
Yeah.
And the more I lie to myself, the more I hide in those insecurities, and the more I'm honest with myself, the more we can grow to that point. Right. So even the hook to finally get you committed to do the podcast, I didn't try to, like, we never talked about a strategy of, okay, this post, like, we don't strategize any of it. We just basically released it. But we don't talk about this engagement or that engagement. Like, we're not overly, sophisticated there.
But talking about the engagement though, it's super cool.
It's very cool.
Because we reach 15,000 people a week?
So the one
obviously
week,
depending on the week.
Yeah, the 1 week we did the 4 guests, we hit over 10,000 views and reached over 20,000 individual people.
And that was just Facebook.
And that was within 1 week.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think about a population like Marion, Ohio, and having that kind of traction, especially when your organic base of a Facebook group at that time when we started posting it was like 250 likes on our page. So, 40 times the Facebook likes, and we hit that many people on actual views.
Yeah.
And we got to see the people reach and everything. I mean, that was remarkable to me. But I also think it's a great reflection of how hungry people are for legitimate content. For
authentic
content. So, dang it, now that we're moving forward on this, have you had to have a conversation with yourself about how to remain authentic? Have you felt any pressure of like, okay, we're going to shoot today, now I need to kind of, or how have you balanced out any of the pressure or thoughts about keeping it real?
It's easy. You just don't think about it.
You don't think about it.
You just don't think about
Expert level.
100. Mastery level success. Yeah, you just don't think about it. It's, to me, it's, what people hear on this, this is who we are.
Yes.
I mean, this is legitimately who we are.
Yeah,
so
we're not hiding or faking it.
No, and we don't. And
we get around people that are cooler and smarter than us and steal everything we can.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's the super cool part about it is, we don't have, I don't feel like I have to try to do anything. Mm-hmm. Literally, we just show up and we just have a conversation about, kind of what we talked about on the topics. It's kind of a guided conversation, but there's no structure, there's no format, there's no any of that stuff. One of the things last night, I was home in between appointments and I was talking to Amanda real quick and I was listening to an interview. Oh yeah. A friend of mine was on an interview. Mm-hmm. And we're listening to the interview and Amanda was telling me, that is just so scripted and so sterile is what she said.
Yeah.
Because everything was so organized, it was so structured.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what we are.
Right.
It's not like it's a formal interview.
Yes.
It's just a conversation. Even with our guests, we're just having that conversation because we want to know things. And like we don't want to have any predetermined ideas of where a conversation is going to go. We want to be open and let it flow to wherever it goes.
Yeah. If you think about the Masons Lodge, the Elk Club, even like a country club or whatever, a lot of these, you look at what's happening in local churches with attendances and younger families and younger generations. This whole game in communication and relationship has changed, and it's changed very dramatically for business, for personal interaction, for personal connection. My wife's a part of groups and has relationships that are solely through Facebook, like real relationships. And there's one story, it's absolutely incredible of how she was able to support a new mom through a group on Facebook. You couldn't have done that before.
Sorry, it was bothering me.
But it's cool to see how the game has changed. And it's also cool to see the immediate response that kind of this new age game will give you. So for example, going back to a lot of advertising, put up the billboard, get on the radio, put something in the newspaper. And it was all this build up to maybe see if it's working, or a long-term approach to, okay, let's see if there's traction here. Now with social media, it's like, no, you can understand the value of what you're putting out right now, and you get that constant feedback, which is cool. Immediate feedback. And so anybody out there, I think the benefit of the culture we're stepping into and the culture shift that's happening is, yeah, there's negatives to it. I totally understand that. And there's a lot to talk about there. But one of the major positives is you don't have to be fake anymore. Yeah. You can remove the veil. You don't have to be a successful business guy based on the shoes and the shirt and the tie that you wear. You don't have to be something to somebody else that you're afraid that people might talk about you or whatever. You can be completely authentic, and in living in that authentic experience, you have a much more rich and fulfilling experience. In the last 2 months, I didn't say so, what has been one of the major highlights for you that has been just a fun moment in doing the podcast?
One of the really cool things I found is talking to other people, because you and I talk all the time, off the camera, off the podcast, whatever. So I take that for granted a lot of times. But what's really cool is talking to the other people, like Sean and Kareem, the guys from Main Squeeze, hearing the ladies from the yoga studio, Tim Prater at Pure Function, Joe at the brewing company, hearing their hearts and hearing, because everybody, I have a firm belief, everyone is, kind of I won't say a robot, but like they're essentially a shell of a person. And then when you get to know them and you get to have those conversations and you ask those questions, they open up. You get to see who they truly are. And that's really cool, kind of getting to know them better. A lot of those people I know pretty well. A lot of those people I don't know well at all. But getting to know them and have those conversations with them is super cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. So, well, this will do it for another episode of How Stupid People Succeed in Life. I'm Josh. This is Jeremy. Make sure you like us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the podcast formats. Oh, yeah. We're on all the major ones. I understand that now. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of them. But share this, tag a friend, whatever. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.